All we're doing is shortening tissue. Look, guys, when we pick this arm up on this side, this lengthens, this shortens. Your whole career, most of you, has been trying to lengthen the tissue. You didn't realize the simplicity of it. Everything you've been trying to do is lengthen the tissue on the injured side for majority of treatments out there, right? Well, look, it goes, let's just say, for the sake of making something workable, forget about whether there's a theory, let's just see if this is workable. Let's just say you've got tissue from here all the way down on the side, on your IT band, down to your foot. I have a couple choices. We have lots of choices. It's like, why don't we take our shoulder and do our shoulder, which is mainly what we do in therapy, whether it's manually do it or we have somebody move it, because there's only two things we do in therapy, in rehab, as a clinician. We move the tissue for them, we move the body for them, or we have them move their own body. That's all we're doing. If we want to be all like, oh, we're doing this and we're just all great and dandy, I'm simplifying you guys down. Our job is we move the body for them or we get them to move the body. When we get them to move when we move the body for them, we call it manual therapy. When they move the body for them, we call it corrective exercise. Who's doing the thinking though? In manual therapy, you're doing the thinking. When they're doing exercise, you're still probably telling them, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this. And you're still doing the thing because they don't know which one to choose next and why to choose it. Right now, we're trying to give them a system down in which they can move their own body and understand why they're moving their body and have a system in place that they can treat themselves for the rest of their lives. So anyways, with that said. So let's check this out. I'm raising this arm up, but all I'm doing is something in the shoulder. Well, how else could I make this tissue tight? So I'm not using the TMR flex. Well, I'm not using shortening, I'm using lengthening. Well, how else could I? I could lengthen it like this in side bend. And that lengthens, I could do 2 sets and go, I wonder if that helped. You probably never thought about doing that. And then I could kick the leg across, which makes the IT band lengthen even more. Okay, so I kick my right leg across, that lengthens that tissue. And then after 2 sets, I can go see if that helped my shoulder. But do we? No. Do we go down on the hip to fix the shoulder? Rarely ever. Do we go down on the no. Okay, so there's 3 areas. Arms I tried, which is all we've been doing pretty much in therapy. Now I'm giving you the trunk to do, and then I gave you the legs to do. Arms, trunk, and legs should be tested in every area of the body to check things out. Now that's lengthening. Well, how can we shorten? If I pick up this side, it lengthens here and shortens here. If I side bend towards, do 2 sets over here, check, see what it does. Do 2 sets over here, see what it does. Kick my leg into the abduction, which will shorten this tissue. I don't have to do reps, I can do holds on all this stuff, right? And then see what happens. I could take in manually, I could go, oh, I'm gonna go into restriction on this way. Okay, well, let's go into ease. Okay, well, now let's go over to this side and see what it does to this side. Let's go down the hip to see what it does to this. You know, the hips in the shoulders move very much similar. The elbows in the knees move very similar. The hands and the feet move very similar, okay? If you know that all you can do with tissue is lengthen and shorten it, you have a workable system that is pretty damn exact. Most of you treat into restriction. If I say to you right now, 100 therapists are gonna treat somebody that comes in with right knee pain. Of those 100 therapists, how many are gonna start on the right knee? This is 100, 90, 80, 70, 60. Hold your hands up. I have 100 therapists. Patient comes with right knee pain. What percent of them are going to start on the right knee? Okay, Glenn says 100. 100. 100, 100, 100. 70. I think it's 70 you got. Okay, got it? All right. So now, just because you can see my shoulder, we're going to go now. I can't move my arm this way. And when I test out mobilization-wise, it's most restricted anterior to posterior. What percent of those 100 therapists are going to start their treatment where they can't go into the thing that's the most restricted? 100, 90, 80, okay, 100, 100, 100, 100, okay, good, got it? So our routine in our professions has been to do what? Go into restriction on the injured side. When you don't get a lot of benefit to it, or you've done really well with the technique you had, and you go, now it's time to learn something new because I got this small segment of people. Most of us will go learn another technique that, guess what, is also in the same quadrant. When I say quadrant, I say if it's this quadrant, my extremity, I have 4 extremities, which really I have 4 quadrants. The quadrant of this is my arm, my shoulder, my neck, and my ribs. like, I'll cut you up like meat or something. There it is. That's 2 quadrants. Your other legs is a quadrant up to your, I don't know how to separate because we're all connected. We can't do that, but we've been doing it for the majority of eons. So the leg comes up to the pelvis and into the lumbar, okay? And this one over here and like that. If you don't realize that anything you do over here is lengthening or shortening tissue, and what you've been doing in this quadrant has been pretty much into restriction, you've been using one of 2 ways. Now, if I just told you, and I just said to you, hey, I know you've been going always into restriction. Why don't you find the easiest direction in the neck, in the shoulder, in the ribs, and just see what that does? No other change of your thing. You'll be twice as effective. Because now you know about going into ease and restriction. So you have to say, now I'm going to say to you guys pretty much held up 100% on all of them. Are you guys one of those 100%? I did this on purpose. I removed it from you and then brought you back in the picture. And it's pretty hard to say 100%, 100%, but I'm not one of those 100%, right? So it makes you, I just want to put you and place you where you are, not to beat on you, just to go, you're right. I haven't had an understanding of this, but I have had a routine. Doesn't mean it's not working for you guys. Not saying that, all right? But now all of a sudden I doubled your abilities just on the injured quadrant. Now you're coming over here and you get this idea that I can shorten this quadrant just by lifting up here. You're still doing shit to this side, really, right? I can then go down to the lower body and I can lift this leg up, which shortens the tissue because by flexing here, right, I'm shortening that tissue. But it looks like I'm treating that leg. I'm not. I'm still treating this tissue. I'm shortening it. Or if I decide to lengthen, I can lengthen it. I have a choice. And the choice is I can lengthen or shorten. I'm not telling you that. I'm showing you shortening because your whole career pretty much has been lengthened. But I know I can lengthen or shorten. But I'm going to do 2 sets and check out the result. I'm going to do, if I want to do 2 sets of the other one and check out the result. What you're going to find is 7 out of the 9 tissues of the body love shortening the best. It works the fastest. We'll talk about some of that maybe tomorrow, okay? But that's what you've got. So now you've got lengthen and shorten in this quadrant, lengthen and shorten in this quadrant, lengthen and shorten down there, lengthen and shorten down there. You now are using all your quadrants into both directions of motion. So now you're using 8 out of 8 things. You have been, most of you, for your entire career using 1 out of 8 things. So you've been having this big picture using that much, and you didn't even know this part of the universe existed, okay? Because you'll go to another technique and guess what? They'll talk about this quadrant. Well, let me show you the neck things. Oh, I never thought about that for shoulder. Let me tell you about ribs and thoracic. Oh, I never really thought about that for shoulder stuff. And then you'll go to another technique. Well, we don't do it this way. We do it that way. It's still into restriction into that quadrant. Just think about your courses you have, majority of you, okay? Those who have things like strain, counter strain, you're in other parts of the body. Strain, counter, this is a functional strain, counter strain, period, or positional release, what you want to do. It's a motion-based strain, counter strain with you moving yourself. Strain, counter strain is where they move you and hold you in a position typically, okay? This is a functional strain, counter strain. There's strain, counter strain, which is them moving your body and holding it there. And then there's strain, counter strain with motion where you're moving your own body is TMR. Okay? So if you know about strain, counter strain, if you don't, well, don't worry about it. Okay? Getting a bigger picture here. Now, if you go and mechanically assess somebody's spine and say they're rotated in C3 and T5 and T7 and L1, the next thing should be, in what body position are they in? Nobody ever asked that. Another forgotten variable. Oh, they're twisted in that and standing. Oh, okay, well, how do they look like that in sideline? Oh, yeah, no problem. What about on all fours? Because if you test somebody and you think T5 is rotated wherever the body position is, they're not. It's crazy what happens. So why can a McKenzie, which is, I'm going to bastardize the thought process, McKenzie disc herniation, or a disc herniation, respond to McKenzie in prone on the belly with a press up into extension. But then you can go to strain, counter strain, have the exact same presentation, be flipped over on your back, do a crunch like Williams flexion 50, 70 years ago, and it fixes you too. Reason is, all right, is that you should be able to fix any area of the body with any quadrant. And you should be able to fix any area of the body with any body position. And that's what I'm trying to open therapists up to. And most of the time, the area of injury into restriction is not even close to the fastest one. But that's the routine we've been taught in almost all the techniques that we're going out there. So now you'll see me presenting webinars on how to speed up McKenzie. Not just speed it up, but how to give it 5 times as many things. Instead of just a press up, side bend and press up, side bend and press up. Now you have 3 things to choose from. Do you want to go to the easiest, the second hardest, or the hardest to begin treatment? And then I'm going to say that's a top to bottom press up. What about if we lift the legs? That's too hard. I'm too old for to do the legs, but I split them apart and I do one and left. So now I have press up, press up, press up, lift leg, lift leg. I have 5 things I could choose from. If you choose the easiest, it usually responds to all the other ones. Mulligan. Okay, so you do mulligan. So mulligan is if this shoulder doesn't lift up, you push it into a direction until that shoulder lifts up. And then you do a bunch of reps with that pressure and you go, damn, it's all better. You think it's all better, and then you let it go and you see if it still lifts. Mulligan, I love mulligan. Mulligan is something that was what I always did, and I still do mulligan if I need to, but it's a complex thing to check out to see if something worked. But what he didn't know is, he didn't calculate into the picture, if I'm standing and I'm doing that and they're pushing on me, right? What they didn't realize is I'm standing on 2 legs. You can stand more on 80% of the right leg and that damn arm will go up. You stand on the left leg and the arm goes, poof. You could twist to the right and the thing goes, whoop. You twist to the left and goes, poof. And nobody's using that for mulligan. What they do is they then take the strap, and where do they go? Into the neck or the thoracic. So again, if you don't know about mulligan, I'm not trying to lose you here and stuff, but I'm trying to show you, if you do know some of these techniques, they go into the other parts of the quadrant. However, if they'd done this and done that, it might have worked. If they did this, it might have worked. If they twisted, it might have worked. If they changed their body, if they lifted a leg up, that may have worked. And that's what I found. Postural restoration. Postural restoration will take the postural restoration and checks out ribs into breathing and the diaphragm. And they'll lay on the table and see how good this arm moves. Boom, this one doesn't move. Then they'll come and do something spot specific in here to try to release it. So I had a person with postural restoration. I said, do it on somebody. And cool, and they got some more motion. I go, okay, now watch, let me show you something. You had it right there. So you took them and you moved their body. First, you made them move their body. Then you went back and did a technique of letting them move, of you moving their body. So you went from testing with them moving to then you treating with you moving their body. And I said, so let's go back to them treating their own body. And we just saw this works awesome. This one, it was still stiff. You made it better, but still not well. So let's just go over here and see what happens. This is only in one area of the body, right? So we went down, did a bunch, and then boom. This is right after they already had. And I've done this on several techniques. That I'll say, look, you switched from, some of the times you guys are testing with you moving the body. Well, at least why don't you move the body and let them move the body, see which it is, and then determine which one you're going to use, because most of us get stuck in one of them. I love this part. That's why I get all passionate about when I feel like I'm yelling and screaming at you or something. It's just because this is the big, like when you begin to see the big picture and you realize how simple it is to get you out, is that you hearing this, you can't just hear this one time. And I know that, and I realize it. It has to be shocking enough the first time to say, damn, I want to listen to this bastard. Holy cow, he's looking at some things differently. But you can't, I've got to repeat this. You got to hear it. Come to my webinars, come to something. Get connected into the Facebook page. You've got to hear me. And this, I'm working on a little project right now, but this is one of my next project is just to keep getting this message out. Because again, I'm either moving them or they're moving themselves. I'm either shortening or lengthening, and I'm either doing it in the area of injury, in the quadrant of injury, or I understand how to do another quadrant of injury. And I can choose whatever the hell body position I want. Should be able to. That's a complete therapist. Right? So the fighting that we have between manual therapy and corrective exercise and this technique and that technique and blah, 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 blah. I don't care whether it's chiropractic or if it's physical therapy or it's energy work or it's even, well, acupuncture already takes it into different lines. They're using somewhat of a different paradigm, but again, fascinating stuff. So remember, all we're ever doing really appears to be lengthening, shortening. But what does that mean? All we're doing is looking for stuff that works, look for stuff that doesn't. All over the body. Find, like, say, you know what, I'm going to go find 8 things that don't work on my body very well. But at the same time as I'm moving, I'm going to pay attention to the things that do work well. So let's just find out, you go, you know what, moving this way over here bugs me. Going here and here bugs me. Lifting this leg up bent bugs me. And you put scores down, you put them on a sheet of paper. But as I was doing that, I really noticed it. God, I love going like this. And man, I love going like that. And oh, I really like kicking out my leg. And that moved well. And even the other side moved well. All right, cool. All right, well, I'm going to take what time. Oh, my wrist moves really well too. Okay, I'm going to take my wrist to see whether it fixes my shoulder. Crazy to see happen when it does. Okay? Sometimes people are so messed up so that when they go and treat themselves or when they go test themselves, they'll say, that hurts me, this hurts me, that hurts me. And we'll look for the thing that doesn't hurt them. Do it, and it makes something else start working that we then can use. It's crazy.